Hello, YouTube. I'm Vince White. I'm an employment attorney, and I was having an interesting conversation with a couple of other employment attorneys the other day. And it centered around what do you do as a plaintiff's attorney when your client is lying either to the press or lying on like national social media. It's a big problem, right? And I wanted to do a video on this because it's a difficult situation and it's a complex situation for a couple different reasons. If your client lies under oath, that's fairly clear cut. You know your client's perjuring themselves. You can't suborn perjury. Generally, I would say you have an ethical duty to get off that case, right? It's always tense. It's very difficult to do the right thing and get off a case when you've invested $30, $40, $50, $80,000 in a case, and you know that you're going to recover $0 when you get off the case because your client's lying, right? You can sit your client down and be like, listen, you got to tell the truth. You're lying. This is not going to work out. They're going to be able to prove you're lying. The lies don't even make sense. What's wrong with you? But the fact of the matter is your client often will say, I've gone too far. I can't go back. Well, the only way forward is back at that point, right? It's just not going to work, right? Committing perjury. We're committing crimes here, and we need to fix that and salvage what we can. It's regrettable that you chose to lie under oath, but like the only way forward is to have your come to Yebus moment. I don't say Jesus because I don't pick faiths here, but I guess Yebus is probably more offensive. But that's, anyways. Well, get mad if you're gonna get mad. Whatever. Anyways, that's a fairly simple one. You just can't suborn perjury. They have to say what's true. They have to come clean and be honest, or you have to get off the case. That's very simple. But when people are lying on social media about their case, about the events underlying their case, or they're lying to the national media or even the local media or the industry media, right? You have to try to address it. It's not under oath. They're not committing a crime, but they are hurting the value of the claim. And they often don't understand that. In the past 5 years especially, I've dealt with so many people who think that they're going to become famous from their case. I'm going to write a book. Okay. I'll read it if you write it. Well, can you get it published? No, I'm not a publishing attorney. Well, but you do this a lot. Right, I do. Do you think my book will get published? No. I've seen 45 books in 5 years. None of them are published. One of them had an advance. That one wasn't published. Right? I mean, I'm not saying nobody's going to read your book, but statistically, no one's going to read your book. Right? I'm not saying you're not going to become the figurehead of a new movement. But statistically, you're not going to become the figurehead of a new movement. And the fact that you're lying as part of your case makes it even less likely. Because I really only take great cases. And in a great case, you don't need to lie. So if you're communicating properly, there's no need to lie. There's no benefit to lying. It's only a bad thing. Therefore, you're not communicating well. Therefore, you are hurting your chances both by lying, and your chances are poor to become a figurehead anyways, because you're not communicating well, and a figurehead has to communicate well in order to become a figurehead, right? So I digress. Let's reel it back to this idea of lying on social media, lying to the press, right? Bounce this idea around a couple different attorneys because it's something we've all wrestled with in recent years. Perhaps me more often than most. And the beauty here is that I have a volume of clients that when I say somebody is lying to the press, there's no identifying characteristics whatsoever. There's no ability for anyone to go back and ascertain who that might have been or what was said or anything like that, right? I'll go to the grave protecting those confidences. That is, in fact, my job. And will protect my license because I'm doing the right thing, and everything good I have in life comes from my license, right? So people had different ideas. A couple people said, "Oh, you just dropped the client." It's social media. I don't think that's required. Or even in the, I mean, listen, if there's no consequences for lying to the press. You know there's no consequences for lying because both the New York Times and Fox News still exist. If you got in trouble for printing blatant falsehoods, they wouldn't, right? So it's not a situation where I think you need to drop the client. I do think you need to stop the client from lying on social media or lying to the press. Because someday your case might go to trial. And up till that day, your case may or may not settle, but your case is going to settle for a lot less if the employer wants to go to trial, right? So if your client just tells some straight up lies, demonstrable lies, that she or he knew were false at the time she or he uttered these words or typed these words in 140 characters, whatever it is, right? You're going to have that conversation with your client. You're going to have to say, listen, don't be stupid. Like, you're going to go and testify someday, and they're going to be able to hold your feet to the fire on what actually happened. There are other witnesses. There's documentation. There are call logs. There's instant messages. There is video footage from your house. There's logs of logins to Slack. There, like all the evidence in all the world will be stacked up. People will be paid $1,500, $2,000 an hour to try to demonstrate your lies. And as part of that process, you're going to have to testify honestly at some point, right? You said X happened. In fact, P happened. With a little bit of H, right? And that was not a euphemism. I don't know. I'm just picking random letters. And defense counsel is going to be able to prove that. And that's going to be embarrassing for you because what you said under oath may have not been accurate, right? Or if you say the correct thing under oath now, what they're going to do is trot out your prior media appearances or your prior social media posts and say, okay, so now you're saying P and H happened, but here it looks like you said Y happened. Did you say Y happened because you're stupid or because you're a bad person? Which is it? Are you a bad person? And the jury's going to be like, well, they don't seem stupid, so they must be a bad person. And I'm going to be sitting there like, well, yeah, but only a little bit bad. Right? I mean, it's a tough day when I have to say, listen, sure, my client's a jerk. And she or he lies a bit, but it doesn't mean these things didn't happen. That's a real bad day. That's tough. Like, listen, might that work? Maybe. Why did we build ourselves a mountain to climb over? Because you wanted to tap on the keys? You wanted to be cool on the internet? Shut up. Like, just stop. You don't need to write lies on the internet. You don't need to lie to reporters. And if you're going to fire me because I say, hey, remember what really happened? Shut up. Then just fire me. I don't care. It is my job to tell you, shut up. Stop lying. Right? And people are like, well, you got to do it gently. No! Shut up! You don't have to do it gently. You have to do it in a way that demonstrates the seriousness of what this person is doing. They are engaged in self-harm because they want to be cool on the internet. There is no one cool on the internet. No one. People on Twitter are not on Twitter because they have better things to do. People on Twitter are on Twitter because they do not have better things to do. These are not meaningful human beings. These are not the greatest experts in the world. Stop pandering to a little tiny group of people who are tapping for bots. Just stop it. Stop lying to reporters. You don't need to lie to reporters. If I like your case is really good. Therefore, or at least I believe it's very good. I'm not infallible, but I believe it to be very good. So why are we departing from the case that I feel is very good, which was also, incidentally, the truth? What are we doing? Like, it doesn't make sense. All right, I'm ranting. In fairness, I'm ranting. But I don't know. I guess I'm looking for your thoughts on this. As the people of the world, I think a lot of you are potential employment claimants, or you're people who've had cases, people with questions about the process. How would you want your attorney to come to you if she or he, your attorney, caught you lying on social media or lying to the press, right? Because a lot of these attorneys, they don't want to fight with their clients. They don't want to be grieved. They don't want to get bad reviews. They don't want to, whatever it is. I don't really feel that way. I'm going to be honest with you. Just, my job is to get you to the finish line. If you hire us to fight for you, we are your little monsters for hire, and that involves being a monster to the defendants, the bad people who did the bad things, but also occasionally is going to involve us being a monster towards you. When you start engaging in self-harm, like, hey, stupid, stop being so freaking stupid. Just enough. Like, you don't need to lie on the internet for the nerds and the bots. It doesn't make sense. You don't need to generate press that is false, that you will someday be called to account with very demonstrable evidence. It's just so stupid. And it's not a good foundation to build a career as a figurehead of the equality movement when your case is built on lies. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. They have to know that. I think people are so used to just posting nonsense on the internet that the fact that they're an employment law case doesn't always act as like a reality check for them. They're like, hey, it's not just Twitter anymore. Now it's like the real world. There's going to be a litigation, and the things I say are going to be trotted out as evidence. I'm going to have to answer for them. So I'm often accused of being a little aggressive during that conversation. Every single attorney I talked to seemed to feel that my approach was a bit much. And in fairness, they probably haven't been sentenced to anger management in the way that I have. So perhaps their approach has certain benefits. But I'm looking to hear from you, from the people of the internet. I now am trying to be cool for the internet. No, I'm not. I'm trying to hear what you think. Trying to improve my listening skills here. What do you think? How would you want your attorney to be like, hey, that thing you said's not true. Here's what we got to do. How would you want that conversation to go down? Because I don't think attorneys have a good grasp on how to start that conversation, or how to conduct it, or how to finish that conversation, or even what to do if that conversation doesn't go well, right? We all know what to do if the conversation goes well. We get back to controlling the narrative. It's what we do, right? Okay, here's our path forward now that you're a little bit, we've improved your relationship with the truth, right? Which is a phrase that I often use and which people hate. But now we've improved that relationship with the truth. Here's the path forward. Here's the play. Here's what we're going to do. I imagine that comes across as a bit smarmy and a bit aggressive from me, because I am almost entirely defined by far too many helpings of smarm and an irrational level of aggression, as some people have accused me. So, talk to me, people. Tell me how to have this conversation. Take care.